Have you ever wondered how to build one of these? You see these everywhere in Austin. I'm going to show you step by step how I built a limestone pathway. Step 1, you have to remove all the grass, the weeds, and the rocks. This isn't so easy in my neighborhood because I live on a clay kind of composite, but I used a shovel, pickaxe, and a rake. I started off with the shovel and that was just too tough. And the chickens loved eating all the worms that I dug up for them. That's Pearl. And behind there's Phyllis. She found lots of worms. So I switched to the pickaxe, and that actually does a really good job. I raked it all nice and flat, moved everything to the side. You can find these weed barriers at a professional landscaping company. You sort of lay it down as best as you can. My pathway had curves in it, so you sort of just fold it over. Make sure that you lay it on top of each piece so that weeds don't get in, and then you have to cover the edging too so you don't get grass. I start with building a mini wall or an edging along the side. I built the trench in just big enough and wide enough to fit these blocks that I use. To make the blocks kind of more secure and to make sure that there's good drainage underneath the blocks, I use decomposed granite. You see a lot of that stuff here in Austin. Some places you can just get fine gravel. I lay these what's called saw chopped blocks, I think. I bought mine in Whittlesey. They deliver them on a big truck. They're pretty heavy, but you find the pieces that are sort of the same height. You line them up. I made sure that I followed the existing wall so that it was pretty even all the way down, with a good flow going downhill. Then I go back and I fine tune each block. I use knee pads, good gloves, a bunch of different kinds of sizes of trowels, which you're going to be using also for the mortar. And I had like a mortar, a mason chipper, and a soft block. So I kind of pull the block off. I dig any of the soil that still needs to be dug out if it's not level, and I test it. And then I tamp it down and see where it's not really sitting and making contact with the decomposed granite, and I fill some more in there or remove it as needed. You just basically want it not to be rocking back and forth, and because you know people are going to be stepping on that thing. I work my way down, trying to keep everything pretty level from one block to the next. Now these blocks don't just sit there on their own, they do get mortared together, and this is how I mix my mortar. I have a clean bucket, need water, some kind of measuring device, mixing tool. I use this white mortar, which is number 7 I believe, and white mortar sand. The way I do it is I put the sand in first, and you can make as much as you want, but I start off with a sort of a smaller batch. So that's, and then a little bit of water, just enough, well, it's the 2:1 ratio. Mix it up, let the sand completely soak with the water, and then slowly add the mortar bit by bit so that you're not getting big chunks, and mix that in with the sand. And you're going to end up with a nice mixture that looks like your grandma's porridge. Yummy! So the next step is you take this mortar and you fill the cracks between each block. And the whole thing with mortar is that because of the way it is chemically, I guess, the way it hardens is that the material that it's leaning up against soaks the water out from it. And limestone soaks up the water really quickly, so you don't have to work super fast, but you can start to see it actually absorb the water quite quickly. I let it dry a little bit, but not completely, just enough so that I can take my gloved hand and kind of brush off the excess and sort of make it a cleaner edge. And even kind of maybe flatter along the top if it's sticking up too much. And I do this all the way along the edging, so it just looks like kind of one continuous, congruous, strong wall. But don't step on it for at least a day or two. Next step is to lay some fill sand in the pathway, and you're going to need a nice wheelbarrow and a rake, a shovel, a 10 by 10 5-pound tamper is what I used. This path took about 12 wheelbarrowfuls, that's 120 shovelfuls each wheelbarrow, so you do the math. And you rake the piles nice and flat and even. This is just so that when you are putting the stones down, they have a nice solid drainage base. Tamp that thing down. That's a good workout for your biceps. I like that part. Paw prints. So the first thing I do is I lay the landing stone. That's the first stone that everybody coming from your other pathway or from wherever they are coming from is going to step on that piece of the pathway first. So I chose a really nice, big, thick rock. And then I start laying from there. And my technique is I just take that big pile down there and sort of take some out and start sort of matching the sizes and putting it together like a puzzle piece. This particular path I actually liked to have more space in between each rock. You want to kind of match rocks that are sort of the same thickness. But I didn't do any cutting on this path. I just sort of puzzle pieced it together, and I didn't worry too much about these big gaps like that triangle or that piece, because I would just take little pieces that were left over and fit them in between those smaller pieces, making sure that there was enough decomposed granite under each to make it level with the rest of the path. So this part I actually didn't do myself. I got a couple of guys to do it for me because I kind of ran out of time when I was working on some other projects. And I don't have any footage of them doing it, but you kind of want to really make sure that each rock is not rocking and that it's level with each other, but also going down towards, where the water would go, and that there are no tripping hazards. And so it can be pretty tricky because you have to put the decomposed granite underneath or take some out. And once that's done, then you just fill all the cracks with the decomposed granite. He's using a nice broom there. So at the end of this path, we put a very large block in preparation for phase 2, which will be a staircase leading down the hill to the back patio. Once this is done, you're going to want to just take a hose and gently water down the entire path to really get the decomposed granite settled, and then you're done. You can wait a couple more days, water it again. Once it's settled though, this decomposed granite really solidifies and hardens nicely and will make this path quite solid. To really make it look pro, you want to add some landscaping and maybe even think about adding some low voltage landscape lighting like this. Isn't that nice? I have a video coming up that'll show you exactly how to do that. If you want to see it, go to my website and sign up, and I'll send it straight to your inbox. And I hope you have fun making your own stone pathway. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the other side.